Do an overview of Google Slides and some of the cool things you can do with Google Slides. So the same as when I created my Google Doc, I'm going to go here to New within my Google Drive, and I'm going to select to create a Google Slide. Remember, you can also use your app launcher to navigate straight to Google Slides, or go to slides.google.com, but I always prefer to just start everything from the drive. So I'm going to open up a new Google Slide here. And just as kind of a little side note too, when you first go into Google Slides, you are offered several different themes that you can use within Google Slides itself. If you would like to find more different templates to pull from, I would suggest going to either SlideGo or Slide Carnival. I'm going to go to Slides Carnival. It's my favorite, just to really quickly show that to you. When you pull it up, there are tons of different templates you can choose from. So I'll choose this composition book one just as an example. So when I click on it and I go to preview and download, it's going to give me kind of a preview of what that template looks like, and then I can choose to use it in Google Slides. I can also choose to use it in PowerPoint or Canva, but I'm going to be using Google Slides. And then it's going to bring up this screen to ask you if you would like to make a copy of the document. And so yes, you want to make a copy. Now when you do that, it's going to force a copy of that slide template into your drive. It's just going to go into your basic drive folder. So similarly to what we talked about with Google Docs, if you want it to go into a different folder, you would need to click here and then move that into the location that's most appropriate. Another side note on using themes like this, you can just type straight into the actual slide that's created for you. That's fine. For me, I tend to find it easier to just sort of keep the copy that was created for me open, and then I will kind of copy and paste the different slides that I want to use into my slideshow. Notice when I do that, it's also going to ask, do I want to match styles in this presentation, or do I want to keep the original styles? If you're copying it from a theme that you like, you want to choose to keep the original styles, or it's not going to keep those same colors and fonts and everything for you. Over here is where you can keep track of your slides. So now see, I have this extra blank slide that I don't really need up here. You can move slides from place to place, so I could just move it down and make it my next slide. Also, I can just delete it by either right-clicking and deleting, or by just clicking on the slide and pressing the delete button on my keyboard. You can create new slides with the plus sign right here. And notice now, because I have copied this slide theme over, when I create new, it's holding that theme for me. You can continue to just copy and paste from a theme that you chose, or up here you have the option to change background, or if you click this little layout option, it's going to show you several different layouts within that theme that you're working in. These buttons down here are basically just different views. So if I click here, it's going to change the way that I'm viewing my slides. Up here is our title for our slideshow. We'll just call it example slide. And really quickly, just to note before we go into some of the other features within slides, for the most part, all of the options up here in the top right corner are pretty much the same as in your Google Doc, and so the collaborative features are pretty much the same. You can share with others just the way you would with a Google Doc. You can also use comments exactly the way that we talked about in the Google Doc video. You can add just an overall comment, or you can tag someone into a comment just like we explained in the other video. One more thing just to note, the one thing when you are working collaboratively with Google Slides, which makes it just maybe slightly more powerful than a Google Doc in some instances, is that you're able to create sort of a workspace where everyone has their own space to work in. So for example, if there are several people on a team that are working on different elements, each person can have their own slide and be working collaboratively, where we can see what each other's doing and comment on one another without typing right on top of each other. So that's one other pro with Google Slides. A couple other things that you can do with a Google Slide that you can't do with a Google Doc. When you choose Insert, you have all of the same features that you have with a Google Doc as far as adding images, text box, shapes, tables, charts, all of that kind of thing. Also, with a Google Slide, you have the option to insert audio or video, so I'll quickly show you what that looks like. A couple things you need to know, though, about adding audio into a slide. First off, Google Slides will only pull audio from your Google Drive. So if you're wanting to add audio, you need to make sure that you have the audio in your Google Drive. Also, once you have it uploaded to your Google Drive, let me pull up an example audio file just to kind of show this. Okay, let's say we're going to use these color book directions that I have. Once you have the audio saved in your Google Drive, you'll be able to access it and add it to your slide. But also, if you're going to want other people to be able to click and play that audio, you need to make sure you remember this step. Once you've loaded the audio to your Google Drive, you'll need to right click, and in the share settings, you need to make sure that you have it set up so that anyone with the link can view. If you don't do that, if you have it set on restricted or only for MCBOE, then it may not allow people to click and play that audio. Okay, so back to our slide. Let's insert that audio. Insert audio. It's right here, or I can search for a particular title up here in the search box. Here's the one that we just set. Double click to add that, and it's going to create a little speaker button for you, and you can put that wherever you want. So you have a couple of options too with how your audio plays, so you'll want to kind of think about the purpose for it. So if this is audio that you want people to be able to click and then play, this is how you'll want to set that up. Notice when I click on the audio over here, I get format options for it. Right now it is set so that people can click and then play.
In this activity, you need to add pictures of the...
And that's going to play the audio for them. Now the other option is to set it to play automatically. So with that, if it's set to play automatically, then when I'm in present mode and I go to that slide, it's going to just play on its own.
In this activity, you need to add pictures of the correct...
So that only works in presentation mode. So if it's something that people are going to be working through without going into present mode for the slideshow, they're going to have to click and play the audio. You also have the option to hide the icon when you're presenting if you don't want people to see the audio icon, or you can just drag it off of the slide and then they won't be able to see it. Okay, the other thing that you can add in a Google slide is a video. So let's click on video. You can add a video that you have uploaded in your Google Drive. Or what I do most often is add a YouTube video. So you can search just within YouTube for a particular topic. And choose a video that way. Or you can navigate over to YouTube, and if there's a particular video that you know you want to use, let's say we want to do the animal alphabet rock, you can access the URL by clicking share and copying, or by copying it from the URL box up here, and then go back over and paste that URL in, click search, and then there's going to pull up that exact video. You're going to click on it so that it's wrapped in blue, and then hit select, and that will apply the video to the slide. Similarly to the settings with sounds, you also have the option with videos to choose to make them play on click, or to make them play automatically. You can also choose to play just a particular portion of the clip if you don't want the entire video to play in present mode. Another feature you have, if for whatever reason you only wanted people to be able to view the video but not hear the audio, you can select to mute the audio when the video plays. Okay, you have a lot of the same features in a Google slide as you did in a Google Docs, but some of them you can do slightly different things with. There's one thing that you can do in a Google slide that's called slide linking. For example, let's say this is a really long document and we want people to be able to access certain parts of the document to get to the information they need. So maybe I want them to click to access video slide. So if I want to do that, I can highlight here, I can choose my link option, and then when this box comes up, since my video slide is on the next slide, or slide 3, I can choose either here to make this link take them to the next slide, or I can go here and I can choose that I want this link to take them to slide 3. So now when they click that link, they're going to be taken straight to slide 3. So this can kind of serve as a table of contents of sorts. Also with a slideshow, you are able to click slide and apply transitions. If you would like to set the way your slides transition from one to the next. You can also add animations. So notice when I just click on these items, it's popping up the option over here for me to add an animation to that. If that's not showing up for you, you can also get to that by clicking insert and choosing animation. So let's say I want this link to appear a certain way, add animation, and then that's going to give you your options to set that text to appear in a certain way. Just a couple kind of interesting things for you to know how to do in slides, and these might not be things that you use just a ton. So I'm going to go to a blank slide, and I'm going to take some of this off. You can do some pretty cool things with graphics in a slide. So for example, let's say I'm going to insert an image. Let's search the web. Alright, here's a cute little jungle scene since we got animal alphabet going on. So we're going to click insert. Okay, so now we've got this big picture. Something kind of cool that you can do with Google Slides is mask images. So let's say I don't want this big huge rectangle picture for the sake of space, or just for the visual effect I'm trying to give off. So if I click on the image, up here, this is your crop tool, which is a good tool to know how to use too. I'll show it really quickly. Your crop tool, when you click on it, it's going to allow you to select and actually cut out pieces of the picture if you need to do that. But also right here next to the crop tool is this option to mask the image. And what that will do is allow you to change the image to fit within a particular shape. So if we want this image to be circular, I can choose, and it's going to cut the image into a circular view. One more just cool thing that you can do with a Google slide, if you are setting up this slide and you want people to be able to see certain elements but not be able to move them. For example, if I'm going to make this collaborative and I want people to be able to see this image that I have on here but not be able to move it around, you can set that as the background so that they won't be able to manipulate that. So let's go ahead and set a plain background color, and then say maybe we want to have a title here that we don't want people to be able to move around. This might be our title or directions that we're going to post here, and then maybe there are going to be other elements that we'll add later that we want them to be able to type into or move around. So what I can do now is I can save this slide. I'm going to go to File, Download, and I'm going to save it as a PNG image. Alright, so now I have downloaded that as an image. So what I can do now, I'm going to make a new slide. I'm going to go to background and I'm going to choose an image for the background. And here's this one that I just downloaded. You could go to upload and browse and get to it that way, but I have it right here, so I'm just going to drag it right up. Okay, done. So now notice the difference. So on this slide, all of this I can manipulate, but on this slide, it's all the background. So now if I want to create a text box for people to type into, or if I want to have other elements that they can manipulate and move around, I can add those things, but they won't be able to move my picture or the direction text that I added. So that basically showed you how you can save slides as an image. Now if you choose to save a slide as a JPEG or a PNG, it's only going to let you save one slide at a time. So it's just going to download whichever one you're on. You also have the option to download your entire document as a PDF document, and that's right here. One other thing I do want to point out with Google Slides, a lot of times, although Google Slides is technically a slideshow tool, you can do a ton with Google Slides outside of just creating slideshows. And actually, you can make a lot of good arguments for using Google Slides rather than Google Docs in lots of situations. And I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm going to delete these other slides and just stick with this one. So let's say that I am wanting to create sort of an interactive poster or flyer. I can go to File, Page Setup, and I can click here. It's set on the standard widescreen slide dimensions. If I go to Custom, I can change the layout to 8.5 by 11. And now this is set up like a basic piece of paper. So now I can create a poster or a handout or whatever and print it off, and it will fit on an actual piece of paper. One thing that's a little easier using slides this way than docs is it's easier to manipulate elements. I can just move text around without having to worry about the document pushing my other text that I've entered. It's also much easier to add in pictures and place the pictures wherever you want without having to worry about using that text wrapping tool like you have to worry about with a Google Doc. Also, you can create some pretty cool interactive documents. So you would be able to create a document that you could share with a video right there on the document. So we'll just go back to that same one. So you would have the video right there, and people would be able to click and play that. The same as with Google Docs. If you want to publish this to the web for people just to be able to view and access but not really manipulate, or not to view within the Google Slide window, you can go to File, Publish to the Web. You can link or you can embed. Link is just going to allow them to click the link and go there. Embed is going to give you a code. If you are wanting this to be embedded like in a website, you can use that embed code. So link, I'm going to do start slideshow as soon as the player loads, and then this is going to tell you how often you want the slides to advance. If you're sharing an entire slideshow, then you might use that setting. I'm just going to be sharing one slide, which is honestly, I think, the best way to use this this setting, so it's not that big a deal for me. So publish, okay, and then I'll show you again quickly what that looks like. Here's that link. All that right here. That text isn't showing up because it was set to be animated, so it didn't play until I clicked. And then you can click and play the video from here.